WADR. West Africa Democracy Radio.
WADR. WADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar. Good afternoon and many thanks for tuning in to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and all around the world on WADR.org. This is Newslink. Here are the top stories. ECOWAS member states and mini conference in Abuja with a renewed commitment to mobilize funds to tackle insecurity.
We have no problem raising funds, and we have all instrumentalities to do that. We believe we are capable of raising necessary funds to combat terrorism and insecurity in the region.
Ghanaian government on high alert as security agents grab Burkina Faso refugees in possession of weapons and ammunition.
We really need to be on the lookout. We have the Ghanaian people to protect. We have country to protect. We cannot say that because we want to be compassionate, we will not look at the security of our nation.
The Chadian Transitional Authority announces December 17, 2023 for a nationwide referendum. And authorities in Sierra Leone banned the movement of cattle from Liberia following an outbreak of anthrax disease. Please stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is James Adjapong with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us. Let's begin with update from the ECOWAS mini conference Tuesday of select regional leaders, including Benin, Guinea-Bissau, and Niger, at the call of the bloc's chairperson, President Bola Tinubu, in Abuja. The purpose of this high-profile meeting was to discuss and deliberate upon the prevailing political and security situation in the West African sub-region. WADR's Usman Umar reports.
Unsurprisingly, the political situation in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea took center stage during the discussions. At a news briefing after a closed-door meeting, Omar Aliyu Toure, president of the ECOWAS Commission, said the Troika undertook an extensive review of the ongoing transition processes in the three coup states.
Regarding the political situation in the sub-region, the leaders have reviewed the transition in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. Regarding the transition in those three countries, the leaders have taken the decision to re-engage the three countries at the highest level.
To actively pursue this initiative, the President of the Republic of Benin, representing the Troika, is embarking on a diplomatic mission to the three countries. The goal of this mission is to ensure that authorities in these states adhere strictly to their own transition charters and ECOWAS protocols. Furthermore, the regional bloc firmly resolved to lend its unwavering support to the credibility and inclusivity of the transitional process, which Toure adds will materialize through the operationalization of the ECOWAS plan of action. The plan will leverage the region's own troops and seek additional financing from partner nations. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigeria's president, expresses confidence in the sub-region's ability to raise funds to tackle terrorism.
We have no problem raising funds, and we have all instrumentalities to do that. Concerning our design and engineering of our own finances, we believe we are capable of raising necessary funds to combat terrorism and insecurity in the region.
In addition to the Commission's announced mechanism, individual member states will also receive indispensable support from the regional force. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Security agencies in Ghana have seized some Burkina Faso refugees in possession of weapons and ammunition at the border area. According to the Defense Ministry, these refugees were dressed as nursing mothers. This revelation comes after the government of Ghana was criticized for the expulsion of some refugees from Burkina Faso by the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, an accusation the government denied. WADR's Atiawene Bella Lawson has the story.
Ghana's national security is on high alert at the country's border with Burkina Faso after security agents screening asylum seekers from the conflict-affected country were found with weapons and ammunition. Currently, the security agencies are unclear about what their real intentions were. Ghana's Deputy Defense Minister Kweku Amankwa-Menu provides more details.
There have been instances where I have seen pictures of women carrying babies, and some less than a year. And as part of their luggages, you'll be surprised, carrying ammunitions. So we really need to be on the lookout. We have the Ghanaian people to protect. We have country to protect. We have properties to protect. We cannot say that because we want to be compassionate, we will not look at the security of our nation.
It should be noted that the Ghana Refugee Board has so far registered 3,200 Burkinabés seeking asylum in Ghana. Last week, reports emerged that the government of Ghana had deported some refugees from Burkina Faso, a claim it strongly denied. It said rather the asylum seekers were being screened and relocated away from the border. In light of the latest revelation, a member of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, James Agalga, believes the government of Ghana has the right to thoroughly search and screen these refugees if the intelligence suggests so.
So when some credible intelligence has been shared, they have every right to screen the refugees to ensure that those who come in and seek asylum in our country because of the crisis in the neighboring countries are genuine refugees. Because there are examples where people masquerade as refugees, and then at the end of the day, it turns out that they are actually terrorists who disguise themselves just to infiltrate.
Reporting for Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Atiewin Imbila Lawson in Accra.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Chad, a Central African state, joins the list of nations to carry out a constitutional referendum as part of the process to install a democratic regime. The National Commission, tasked with conducting the exercise, CONOREC, declared December 17, 2023 as the date for the nationwide vote. Abdullahi Hassan reports.
CONOREC's announcement marks a turning point in Chad's recent history as it stares back to a constitutional regime. After exceeding an earlier transition deadline, the transitional government came under pressure from the international community to initiate the process for its fifth return to democracy. The National Commission responsible for organizing the constitutional referendum says 1 million new registered voters are expected to vote a yes or no on the draft constitution on December 17. Per the Commission, the first action towards this referendum will see the enrollment of voters and the revision of the electoral lists used during the last presidential election in April 2021. This crucial step, which begins next week, is in two stages and only concerns Chadians who have just turned 18 or who were not on the electoral lists 2 years ago. Enrollment in the 7 most populated southern provinces begins on July 24 to end on August 7, then from August 23 to September 6 for the remaining 16 provinces, as well as Chadians living in 15 foreign countries in Africa, Asia, Europe, and on the American continent. The new electoral file will be declared on November 12, a few days before the start of the electoral campaign to popularize the referendum, which will begin on November 25. CONOREC intends to announce the provisional results on December 26 before transmitting them to the Constitutional Court for validation.
Abdullahi Hassan with that report. Meanwhile, the United Nations Migration Agency, IOM, amid the resurgent migration crisis, has reviewed the jump in the percentage of migrant returnees through its assistance programs. At 39% compared to the previous year, more than 69,000 migrants were assisted in returning to their countries of origin by the International Organization for Migration, according to its latest return and reintegration report. Ogil Bierika tells us more.
Among those assisted were 54,001 migrants under IOM's voluntary return and reintegration programs and 15,281 others assisted to return from humanitarian settings in Libya and Yemen. The report further highlights a 70% increase in the number of migrants in vulnerable situations who were assisted to return voluntarily from 4,446 in 2021 to 7,561 in 2022. On the global map, North Africa and the Middle East has overtaken the European Economic Area as the main host region, accounting for 33% of the total number of cases. In West Africa, precisely in the Sahel, Niger was the main host country with a total number of 15,097 migrants assisted to return from transit countries. The UN agency reiterated migrants' access to appropriate support, opportunities, and follow-up to regain economic, social, and psychosocial stability in their communities of origin upon return. By 2023, more than 170,000 migrants, according to IOM, were provided the necessary support either before or after arrival in their countries of origin.
Ogi Obiarika filed that report. In other news, Gambians have reacted to a viral video of a man that seemingly shows a cross-dresser in a vehicle. They condemn his mode of dressing, assuming he's a homosexual, a culture that is frowned upon in the country. The alleged Nigerian man has been taken to the police headquarters, where he will be protected from angry mobs. From Banjul, Sankole Janko has more.
You leave your country, come to our country. We are Gambians, we don't know this.
These are the reactions of Gambians who saw the alleged Nigerian crossdresser in a vehicle in the Kanifing municipality. His mode of dressing immediately provoked public reactions, and among those angered told WADR that no form of homosexuality should be tolerated in the Gambia.
As a human being, you belong to one particular gender, either a male or a female. So if you are a male, behave like a male. If you are a female, behave like a female.
Gambia is a secular state, and we have certain things that should not be accepted. When you look at religious-wide, homosexuality is not accepted. I said a big no to it.
Another concerned citizen said he does not accept this form of behavior while praising the mob for addressing him.
Gambians don't accept such kind of behaviors, and that actually prompted the reaction of the people who have caught him. I am not a fan of homosexuality. I don't recognize it.
He condemned the xenophobic comments made by some of the people in the video.
My problem with the video is how xenophobic it was, calling him Nigerian. That is actually not the thing.
Meanwhile, Deputy Police Spokesperson ASP Mohammed Dabo confirmed to WADR of having a man posing as a woman in their custody at the police headquarters. ASP Dabo further stated that the man is currently helping the police with their investigation. Although detained, the police is yet to confirm his nationality nor the specific charges against him. Homosexuality is a crime in the Gambia, and the thought of the act is a non-starter for many Gambians. It is a crime to be gay, and adults found to have had consensual same-sex relationships of any form faced up to 14 years in prison. However, the Criminal Code Amendment Act 2014 has aggravated the crime, and anyone found guilty of same-sex acts will be served a life sentence. For Newslink on West African Democracy Radio, I am Sankole Janko reporting from Banjul.
You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. ECOWAS member state end mini conference in Abuja with a renewed commitment to mobilize funds to tackle insecurity. Ghanaian government on high alert as security agents grab Burkina Faso refugees in possession of weapons and ammunition. The Chadian Transitional Authority announces December 17, 2023 for a nationwide referendum. And authorities in Sierra Leone ban the movement of cattle from Liberia following an outbreak of anthrax disease. Still ahead, we have our newspaper review, guest interview, and some sports update. Kindly stay with us.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review. This is the newspaper review.
Before we get to our newspaper review, Sierra Leonean authorities have banned the movement of cattle from Liberia as well as the import of meat from the neighboring country. The decision followed the mysterious death of 36 cows in a border area. The Liberian government, in a separate statement, informed of an investigation into the causes of the death of cattle in early July in a field in Kelima Bendu on the border between Guinea and Sierra Leone. Morovia, however, did not say when the results of the investigation will be known. In the meantime, the movement of cattle, goats, and sheep along the border with Liberia, as well as the import of meat products from Liberia, remained banned. Similarly, livestock markets in the border area are temporarily closed and surveillance in slaughterhouses is enhanced. Recall in May 2022, an anthrax epidemic broke out in Sierra Leone, killing more than 200 animals. Now for our newspaper review, let's get to Banjul with WADR's Sankole Janko.
Hello there and welcome to this edition of the Press Review. We begin with the Point newspaper. The Point newspaper's lead story reads, Government launches weighing station along Brikama-Soma Highway. Witness says SRN Steel Limited CEO admits committing crime. Africa 50 deal. Minister says Gambia will have 3 streams of cash flow. And this other one reads, Barrow describes MYEA's classrooms project as appropriate and strategic. We move on to the Fourier newspaper. The Fourier's lead story reads, GPPA refers to Banjul City Council as non-compliant institution on procurement for years under review. Semlex contract comes to an end. Semlex was a company that was contracted to print national identity cards as well as passports for Gambians. Government allocates German National 5 plots of land. Let's move on to the Standard newspaper. Standard newspaper comes with a very interesting, headline on their lead story, and it reads, ECOWAS advised to avert third-term bids in Gambia orders, with photos of Omar Sissoko Mbalo of Guinea-Bissau, President Adama Barrow, as well as Foreign Nyasimbe of Togo. This particular story is saying that ECOWAS should actually advise to make sure that the Gambia averts a third-term bids. APRC North Alliance to mark July 22nd in Kanilai. 22nd July was the date that former President Yahya Jammeh led a group of soldiers to overthrow the democratically elected government of former and late President Sadauda Karaba Jawara in 1994. During Jammeh's regime, this date was celebrated, but now he's not in power. But according to this story, published by the Standard newspaper, his supporters who are not in support of his relationship or an alliance with President Barrow said they will celebrate this particular day, that is on Saturday, at the birth village of former President Yahya Jammeh in Kanilai. And finally, Macky Sall expected in Gambia soon. So many people will be glad to see him following his announcement that he will not bid for a third term. And in sports, determined goals of Liberia signs Catherine Jatta from Please FC. I'm afraid these are the major stories making headlines on Gambian dailies. It's back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Sankole, for that newspaper review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Let's take you back to an earlier report that seems to be brewing an eminent diplomatic row between Ghana and neighboring Burkina Faso. Following accusation of alleged expulsion of some Burkina Faso refugees, the Ghana Defense and Interior Ministry claimed it was rather a screening of asylum seekers. To avert the unreal intentions of these refugees, the Ghanaian authorities opined that this will be the only way to protect its civilians and borders from a possible terrorist invasion. With the seizure of weapons and ammunition at the border area from Burkina Faso refugees by security agencies in Ghana, the authorities are resolved not to compromise on its border stability. Our guest, Frank Hayford, a security expert, will analyze the situation comprehensively on how the two countries can find a mitigation space to address these border risks for stability, cohesion, and maintenance of bilateral relations.
Okay, so first of all, I think that concern is very legitimate in the sense that since 2001, according to the UNHCR report, over 17,000 people have fled to neighboring countries, including Ghana, from Burkina Faso due to the current conflict. So any action or inaction by the Interior Minister and other stakeholders are very, very legitimate. But first of all, I think that and we need to strengthen the security on the border. In the sense that, there are a lot of loopholes and people move to other neighboring countries through ways and means that are not legally allowed. So we need to strengthen the border and enhance controls and surveillance to detect and prevent such illegal movement. Secondly, I believe that there need to be robust screening and vetting processes. The legacy way of doing it traditionally needs to be enhanced with technological advancement, because these terrorists and illegal people are very sophisticated these days because they are being sponsored by high-profile people. I think that we need to collaborate with international partners. I mean, we do not live in an island. There are international partners like Interpol and others who have serious intelligence that when we collaborate with them, it can help us manage the situation.
So based on border intelligence, do you think Ghana's government, screening of refugees to ascertain their actual status is really in line?
Yes, it's very, very in line. You see, first of all, you can't just sack these refugees because there are international laws that Ghana is a signatory to, and we need to respect them, these laws as well. So it is very, very important that we share intelligence and act according to international law. Because, as I said earlier, we do not live in an island, and we signed lots of treaties that we need to respect and adhere to them. And in fact, refugee camp management is very key in all of this. You see, Ghanaians move to other countries illegally, and when they get there, there are refugee camps that manage them well. So we also need to have a refugee camp management system being placed on the border to ensure proper oversight these people who are coming to Ghana. And criminals or extremist elements are also infiltrating that based on that. So that aspect is very, very key. It's inevitable.
So then finally, how can these two countries, strike a balance without compromising on security and the protection of its citizens?
Okay, so first is communication. Communication is very key in everything that we do. We need to enhance our communication and cooperation. Even with the Burkina Faso government itself, whether it is legitimate or illegitimate, it's not our business as it stands now. Although we all belong to ECOWAS, that we have some things that we need to respect. But when it comes to security, it's about your nation. So we need to enhance communication and cooperation with Burkina Faso government. And we need to share intelligence. No matter how bad the government is, a government would not allow terrorists to freely operate unless terrorists themselves are in charge of government. And the Burkina Faso government itself is actually fighting these terrorists. So I believe that they will cooperate with us. So that intelligence sharing is very important. Once again, to adhere to international conventions. And let me state this, that Ghana and Burkina Faso, we are all obliged under the 1951 Refugee Convention and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Both parties are to adhere to these conventions. I believe in one way or the other, though it wouldn't solve the problem fully, but it will provide a framework and a guideline in ensuring that our security goals are being achieved. Then we also need to have a targeted security measure. Not everyone trying to come to Ghana is an extremist or a potential terrorist. So we need to implement targeted security measures that focuses on identifying security risks rather than resorting to collective expulsions, as there will be negative externalities based on any strategy that we use. And when it comes to security, something that affects Ghana, it's likely to affect Cote d'Ivoire, it's likely to affect Togo, it's likely to affect other West African countries as well. So ECOWAS need to play a key role in this. Luckily for us, our sitting president has been the chairman of ECOWAS, and the current or recent president is President Senegal, the chairman of ECOWAS. And Ghana has a very, very good relationship with 19. These are agendas that we can bring on board during ECOWAS meetings.
Frank A. Ford is a security analyst from the Africa International Relations Forum. And now to some sports update. The Ghanaian football community mourns the demise of former Kumasi Asante Kotoko striker Kabiru Moro, who tragically passed away in his hometown of Akwatia in the eastern region. The 35-year-old reportedly collapsed during a community football match on Tuesday evening, 18 July 2023. After the incident, he was unable to be revived before he was announced dead. A family member confirmed the tragic event according to local media report in Ghana. The 35-year-old born February 15, 1988, Kabiru Moro had a successful career in the Ghana Premier League. He had stints with several prominent Ghanaian clubs, including Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Midiama SC, and Real Tamale United RTU, as has been reported. And that is it for some sports updates. We have come to the end of this edition of Newslink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to our listeners in the Gambia via Hot 104.3 FM and New Me FM 94.0 Banjul, in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM Lofa County. We also thank our listeners in Ghana on Radio Pad 95.1 Savannah region and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi. Christian Mukidi has been on the console. Do interact with us via social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Many thanks to Mustafa Sek for our Facebook Live coverage. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, the series broadcast of our agenda program, 50-50 with Atiawin in Bella Lawson. I am James Adjapong. Good afternoon.
News, talk, music, get it all. 24 hours on West Africa Democracy Radio. 94.